Hello and welcome back. It's been a while, but the hiatus is over. Been quite busy with life and other things, but we're back and we're playing a lot of chess. This is going to be the round number 1 recap of the Newport Chess Congress that I played recently in August. It's my first classical overboard rated game ever, and the first overboard rated game in a very long time. I played a little bit while I was young, but not so much. I'm coming back to it now. This is the first FIDE rated one as well for me, so I'm hopefully going to perform well in this, or well, you'll find out if I've performed well in this. And a good performance here means a good base rating on the FIDE lists. But anyway, round 1 I was paired against the 6th seed, as you can see, and he played e4. And, well, I thought, screw it, let's go, c5. I've been preparing a little bit of the Sicilian. Not too booked on it, but I'm sort of learning as I go. It's, I think, important to get the experience. Anyway, d4 came, and I was quite glad to see the Morra. I took the pawn, there's nothing better. Because literally a few days prior, I looked at this with my coach, and excuse me, and I was given a very nice line, which I really enjoy. So knight c6 is normal, bishop c4 is gonna just transpose after knight f3, and the move here is bishop b4, main line, Smith Morra, white castles. Basically the idea for me is to support this knight, get castle quickly, and then start trying to play for, I think, the centre. I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to check the master games on that. But I think it was round 1. I was nervous. It was an evening round, and I mixed up my prep almost immediately. I took here, which I've marked as a mistake in my own analysis, and indeed, I think the engine, turn it on. Yes, the engine agrees is a little bit inaccurate. I now understand that this is bad because it takes the bishop away from this diagonal, and most importantly, this d6 square is now chronically weak. My prep actually goes knight g7. Opponents, if you're watching this in the future, and then I think the line goes bishop g5, h6, and here white doesn't want to give up that bishop pair. He's already gambited a pawn, and then you castle quickly, and basically after this move rook c1, now you can take, because this d6 square is no longer weak because of the king being able to castle, and also we have enough time to maneuver our pieces, play even d6, and everything's okay. So knight g7 I will never forget. But anyway, the game went bishop takes c3, and this is wrong. Bishop takes c3 is normal, and now I went knight g7, so I just mixed up the move order a little bit. I think I was nervous, but this unfortunately is now really weak. I don't have enough time here to save this sort of square being used up. So in my head I'm thinking castle quickly, so I castle, and of course this d6 square is really weak, and here white very expertly plays bishop d6. In my calculations I was thinking, well, if you want to take this knight, okay, I don't really care. I can just take, and now my queen's developed for free. I completely missed this idea of the weak d6 square, and it's a theme in these e6 Sicilians that this square can get a little bit weak, because you trade up the c5 pawn for d4, and then you push this e6, and you have this weakness on d6. An interesting idea, which I think the computer agrees with, is to go queen d6 immediately and just stick the queen obnoxiously in that gap. I'm not sure what the line is. And then bishop a3, or something like this. But engine, h4, and this is h4, and you start an attack, which is crazy. But in any case, this bishop a3 move also works. The engine approves. After castles, bishop d6, I now realise that this bishop is a pain, and I start thinking about how I can remove it. So in my head I'm thinking, well, okay, what if I develop my bishop here and try and attack, there we are, attack this bishop from the c8 square. I realised it was probably a little bit slow. Even worse, I decided to try and gain this tempo, but of course after a6, this is really slow. White can just move bishop d3. And now I no longer have this tempo move, and this bishop is really annoying. I've now got two huge bishops staring into my position, and it's looking scary. Engine says b6 is best here, and what I've missed in my calculations is after something like rook e1, which is a pretty normal developing move, just supporting the c5 sort of idea, I have this idea knight a5 to attack this bishop immediately. I do actually gain this tempo, and after bishop f1, I have knight b7. This reroute is really nice, I've marked it as great. I attack this bishop, and now, engine says, I'm even a little bit better. After bishop a3, I can now play d6 and stop this this weakness and play a pretty normal position. I messed up. I played a6, allowed this bishop d3 to free because I still don't have this move to attack this knight. I should have played b6 first. God knows why I didn't. And then I played rook e8. My idea was to unpin first before rerouting this this knight, because obviously if I didn't, I'd be hanging my rook if I moved that knight. But what I completely missed is this next idea that black had after e5. I'll pause a little bit here for people. Everyone's probably screaming, they see the idea, especially with this pawn on e5. Yeah. If black plays a nothing move, like I did, get it with a great gift. Just a side note, actually, I rejected this b5 idea because I didn't like c4, and I thought if I take, I'm just giving white two huge bishops, and I have a really weak open b file, and of course bishop b7 I've marked as a blunder. It's probably not. Engine says, yeah, it's not so great because I give back this pawn, and again the same problem here and here, and this is coming. But that's just a side note. I didn't like this b5 without the tempo. But yes, e5 is a blunder, and I was an idiot. Continued my plan. I just played b6, bishop b7, and rerouting here. Again, I think I was nervous. My neurons weren't firing. I played b6, and this is a complete blunder. White is now totally winning. With this, bishop takes h7. It's a great gift. I now sat here for about 10-15 minutes. I eventually decided to play king f8. Engine says king h8 is the best try, but I didn't like knight g5. And indeed, Engine says it's +5 here. It says knight f5 is the best. You just give up the queen and hope. But king f8 is apparently even worse. Again, this knight g5 is still here, but I thought there was some chance of consolidating and maybe taking the king here and getting this knight out and untangling my pieces. But king f8 I think walks into this pin, which is why the engine doesn't like it as much. Bishop c2. So after, yes, king f8, I'm threatening to play this g6 sort of, and so white plays bishop c2. I've marked this as a mistake, and indeed the engine says it screws with the advantage quite heavily. I was most scared of this knight g5, and I was thinking, okay, so this bishop can like take, if ever I play g6, you just take. You have this open h file. It's now open f file as well. This queen can come to f3, even h5. Swing across here. Rook is coming out, and I'm just getting murdered. So knight d5 is indeed the best move, and I was scared of this in the game. At least I'm calculating something correctly. But he plays bishop c2, and I played b6, which is indeed a top move here, trying to find some sort of shelter for the king. Now knight g5 comes, and I do want to know, I did calculate bishop takes g6 here, because I thought, well, if I play g6, what if you just sack and open lines with the same thing? But it's slightly different here because I can take here first, and after knight g5, I have enough time to hide the king. Here, I unbreak the pin. Now here and here, I have my two heavy pieces on these files, and everything's fine. And indeed, the engine does agree with me. So I didn't like bishop takes g6, and indeed, white did not go for this. Went knight g5, king g7, queen f3, and now knight f5, which I thought was a nice defensive resource. I've marked this as great, but engine still thinks I'm pretty okay. Yeah, so it is a great move. It is the only move to keep the evaluation fairly low, plus 1.5. But it's looking nasty for me here. After queen f3, knight f5 is the only move, and I played it, thank goodness. I was drawing on every defensive resource I had here. And here, white shocked me with something ridiculous. He took f7. It was baffling to me. I thought, okay, takes g4, and now I've got nice lines to work with, even rook g8. I thought probably better was h4. Interesting, just hold on to the knight and just have prospects open for the attack. I think you saw bishop takes f5 is engine's top choice, just removing that and either opening up this g file or causing irreparable weakness to the king. Even I think e6 is an idea. After takes, let's see what the engine says. h4 is okay, but instead it says takes. Yeah, if you take here, then you just get murdered by queen here. Apparently, I was considering this move maybe at some point, but anyway, h4 says it's okay, but now I can get this bishop and things are looking a little less good. Anyway, he went knight takes f7, and of course, basically my only move here is to take the knight, g4 came, and I realised the idea. And here, let me turn the engine off. Here, I played this move, rook g8. I thought, okay, I'm gonna create this sort of idea where I'm gonna take back with the check. I've now got ideas of this bishop coming here, and even mate threats possibly. Of course, I was a total idiot and overlooked the excellent resource queen g5, pinning this knight, this pawn, sorry, so it cannot recapture the knight. And this would have given me a pretty sizable advantage. Engine says, try and attack? No? Here. Interesting. And yeah, I have a plus 1.5 advantage after this bishop b7 move. Okay, so the bishop coming here to try and block this diagonal. But I thought after king h1, I think in my own analysis, king h1 I thought was just bad because even this being threatened, I can play this first. And again, this queen is going to get hit if you take. I have this nice move, which is apparently up. The engine tells me I'm an idiot because the bishop can come in. Wow. Instead, what do I have to do? Take back first, and then try and attack down these files. Crazy. Anyway, I played this rook g8. He takes back the piece immediately, which I think is an inaccuracy. He could have played king h1 first. I've marked king h1 as a good move because after bishop b7. I thought queen f4 unpinning and this still being on pre was good, but actually engine says you can take because after knight a5 we'll have this motif of bishop e4. In fact, taking first is better than bishop e4, and now my king is just being destroyed. But taking was a little bit of a rushed move, I think. G takes f5. I give this check. King h1 is the only move here. And then I went bishop b7, and here I've marked this position as unclear. I felt like I had defended and I was out of the woods. Engine says I'm actually losing for a ridiculous move. Takes. Brilliant sacrifice. I mean, this is engine moving to take here. you're getting absolutely bludgeoned. Queen takes f5, king g7 is probably this longest that you can hold on. After rook g1, I mean king h6, you're just getting mated like this. It's a ridiculous sequence. Engine says your best hope is to play knight d4, sack a piece for no apparent reason, but white can sack back. King takes e6, queen takes b7, and black is just down 2 pawns. White has a really nasty bishop and lots of open lines and a weak king. So instead, queen h5 from white, which allowed me some room, and I had prepared rook g6, which I thought was quite a good move. On queen h7 check, I had prepared rook g7, and after this perpetual, king g8, which was really nice. This I thought possibly was delusional, because that's kind of scary. But Engine agrees. It says I'm equal, which is really sad. I thought I had an attack, especially with this pressure here and here, but indeed this would have been the right decision. Instead, after rook g6, f3, trying to block this diagonal, but in fact Engine says is a blunder apparently, because of queen h8, which is insane. I don't know. I went queen g5, similar sort of idea, maybe. Anyway, we traded the queens, and now it seems that white is sort of out of danger, but I'm still actually pushing for the win here. There's still a lot of pressure along this diagonal, and a lot of chances for me to even like start an attack here or here. Rook takes g5, bishop d1, I think just protecting this. I can't really explain this move, to be honest. But anyway, I played rook h8, and my coach actually was talking to me about this. It's probably even better to play rook h8 here, and then there's even like chances of like trying to attack this pawn, or trying to do some counterplay on the 7th rank or 2nd rank here along this g file. Is probably the best idea here, and it stops this rook from getting in. I don't know why I didn't do that. It's the most logical thing ever. W rooks on the open file. I didn't. I think I was probably just sighing a big puff of relief because I felt like I'd survived. And here I felt I lost the thread though after rook h8. I don't understand bishop e2 either. It was a weird sort of maneuver. And then I went rook h3 to try and cause some problems here, counterplay. I thought maybe there's a chance of me taking here, or doubling here to take here. After this discovery would be pretty useful, but it was not accurate because, again, rook g1 is coming. I haven't stopped this plan. And then I went rook h5, and this is where I think I'm losing the thread. And yes, before I had a, after rook h3 I still had a -1 advantage, rook g1. The move should have been knight d4, which I can't even begin to explain to you. Knight d4, rook takes g5. I just sack the rook, and then what? I get a piece. Check. And that's a ridiculous sequence which I would never have seen ever. And I'm still only up 1 pawn, and this h pawn is scary, but apparently I'm winning here. Anyway, this rook h5, I felt like I was losing the thread here. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a plan. It still felt like I should have something, but I couldn't really figure it out. Rook takes g5, and rook takes g5, obviously. And then white gets this rook g1, which is excellent because you're just stopping any of the attack. I didn't want to trade rooks here. I went rook h5, trying and hoping for something a bit better. Rook g3 I didn't understand at first, but now I understand. After rook h4 I was just trying to cause some problems, maybe some counterplay along here. This king g2 move was very interesting. I played knight e7 to try and bring my piece around to better squares here, I thought maybe even here at some point would be good. It felt like I had to start being scared of this pawn. So I started this move, and this rook h3, which I missed, I didn't realise and didn't like. Of course, if I go for this plan of trying my counterplay, I lose the piece here, and I lose the game. I decided to complete my move and go knight g6. Talk to my coach, and indeed the engine does say that taking here first is better, because now I have this knight b5 square, which is very nice, and now I'm causing problems here. This is never pushing. This knight is placed beautifully, and I can try and push. Knight g6 and rook takes h4. Knight takes h4. The problem is I give white this tempo, and now white is decidedly better. I have to go back to knight g6. I lose a tempo there, and now s4 I think is okay still. Not the best. It gives me a chance to apparently play b5 and stop any of these pawns rolling. But I was too focused on this h pawn, which I thought was going to murder me. So I went king b7. h4 seemed rather logical. King h6. I'm trying to stop this pawn from progressing any further. h5, you attack the knight, and now I find this excellent maneuver, or I think at least excellent. Knight h8. My idea is to come here and block this square, because I knew that my king is not going to always be able to hold the square. I have to bring my knight in here. Interestingly, white is just better if he uses these pawns and tries and creates something here. But we're not 2800 grandmasters, and I thought this was pretty neat. Anyway, king h4 came, and I played this knight f7. Not threatening to take this bishop, that would be catastrophic. I'm just going to leave my knight here and stop the king from ever entering with my pawn. This is now fixed. Black tried a little bit of counterplay. In fact, I'm not even sure what the idea was to check. The king, I suppose this pushes, and there's a little bit of movement, and then the king comes in. But I find this nice idea of king h7. I'm stopping this being a tempo. I'm always guarding this square with my knight now, and this square, so this pawn can never advance because the bishop just gets lost. And so I felt here I was pretty secure. This pawn is not moving. So what does white do? White plays bishop d1 to try and, I think, go after this pawn. But I stop his last bit of counterplay with bishop c6. Engine here says that white can still push. Got half a pawn advantage, 0.5 on the evaluation bar. But I offered a draw here, and white thought and accepted it, thinking that there was, in fact, no way to progress. So that game ended in a draw. And to start off, in my first ever classical game, I survived a brutal attack after a ridiculous blunder and saved the game. It was a draw against the 6th seed with black pieces, which is always good. It's what you want when you play with black, really. A draw is a great result. And with that, I was half out of the total possible 1 point, and I was around 10th in the ratings. There were a few people who won their first game, of course, but I was doing pretty well because, of course, I drew a high-seeded player. And that's it. I'm going to stop there. Tomorrow you will see the next game, where I have the white pieces. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully it was instructive in some places. Again, all of this analysis is not just myself. I've talked to my coach. A lot of these ideas I'm relaying to you is from my coach. But I sort of tried to give you an idea of how I was thinking during this game. Bit of nerves, it looks like, but I think not too bad. And of course I won't be ever blundering that Greek gift again. But there we are. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I will see you all tomorrow for round 2. Thanks very much. Take care.